Okay, so this is the second part of 2.2. This first part is a little confusing because actually the instructions are these instructions right here that say solve and graph the solution sets are really matching these up. Oh, sorry, I'm not up on the screen. Okay, so really those instructions go to the bottom ones where we're going to match, like for 7 through 12, we are going to match each graph and with each letter over there. So each graph on the left with a number line, each one of the things on the right with a number line on the left. But this first section, 1 through 6, are all true, false. And so it doesn't say that here. But in this section, we're going to do some true, false. And here's why we're doing it, is because if you notice the difference between a lot of these problems, the main difference is that some of them are and problems, and some of them are or problems. And what we need to look for is that anytime you see the word and you might want to make yourself a note about this, because when you see the word and, it means that both parts are true. Like if I say you and I like pizza, then it must be true that I like pizza and you like pizza. Where if I say either you or I like pizza, as long as one of us likes pizza, it's a true statement. So that word or means at least one part is true. So when you're doing these, that's what they mean. That word and, it means it has to be where both things are true, whereas or is either one of them could be true. So we're going to look at them, and we're going to start with number 1, and we're just going to look at them in parts. We're going to look at this, and we're going to look at this and decide if each one of those are true. So the first part, -5 is less than -3. Is that true or false? That's true. -5 is less than -3. And then 3 is less than -5. 3 is less than 5. Is that true or false? That's true as well. So they are both true, and it's got this word and. So since they are both true, it makes them true. That's what we're looking for. Are both things true? Yes, they are both true here. The left one is true, the right one is true, and since that word and is there, it means they both have to be true. Otherwise, it is false. So now we've got or, which means not both of them have to be true, just one part has to be true. It could be both, but I need at least one part to be true. -6 is greater than -2. True or false? False. -6 is greater than 2. False. That's false as well. So since neither one of them is true, this has to be false. Remember, the or means at least one of them has to be true. So that word or, again, means one or the other has got to be true for me to write true. -7 is less than -5. True. Do we already know what the final answer to this is going to be? Yes, because it's or. If one of them is true, they're both going to be. But let's check the other one. 7 is less than -5. That's false. But since the word or means that as long as one of them is true, then we can write true. Or means, for example, it'd be like if I said, do you or I like cats? I'm not a cat person. So if you are, then the statement would be true. If you are not, then the answer would be false. Because my answer is going to be false. I'm not a cat person. I don't love them. I sneeze all the time. They don't do much for me. Nothing against them, just my thing. So let's try number 2. -1 is less than 2. True or false? That's true. -1 is less than -2. False. So is this true or false? It's false because that word and tells me that they both have to be true for it to be true. All right, -6 is greater than -3. That's false. -3 is less than 6. That's true. So is this true or false? It's true because one of them is true, and or means one or the other. Yes, ma'am. So it's not going to be like this and or. This is just helping us decide, like when we get to the graphing, that and means that for both of them it has to be true. So like that and part here is where they overlap. That's that key thing right there that we're looking for, is where do they overlap. For anything that is and, where it's true for both of them, we have to see where do they overlap. All right, -4 is less than -6. All right, I actually already know the answer to this then. How do I already know the answer? Because if one of them is false, this is and, they would have to both be true. One of them's not, so sorry, it's already false. All right, so here's where we get to the part that's more like your homework, because everyone's always like, what's the homework like? So we are going to be matching these letters with the graph. And what I think is it's harder, in my opinion, to go from the graph to matching them up over here. So what we're going to do is we are going to actually graph these one at a time and see where they match up. Now, there are more choices here on the right than there are on the left. So not everything is going to have something that it matches up with. But let's see. All right, let's do A first. Let's do A over here. We're just going to graph it and see if we can find one that matches afterwards. So I'm going to look at this in two parts. The first part is that x is less than 3, less than or equal to 3. So excuse me, I'm going to put a number line here. We've got 0. We've got 3, and I know that -2 has to be a number on there as well. But x has to be less than 3. So here's 3, less than or equal to. I used a closed circle because it's got this line down here. And less than will be to the left. Although x also has to be greater than -2. X is a bigger number than -2, so it has to be greater than or equal to -2. So I'm going to do this in a different color here. Notice that one's closed as well, and it goes all the way to the right. But notice here, it's got to, both things have to be true in here. This one is just like an and problem. It's going to be both there. So I'm looking for the overlap, and the overlap is actually this area right there. So it's not the blue stuff on the right. This would not be included. Let me just erase that. This is not included. It's not this red stuff on the left. It's just that area in there. So now I'm going to look on the left for a graph that matches that. So let's, what's going on here? Let's zoom out. So let's see if we've got a graph on the left that matches what we just drew. 10. 10 matches that. So let's put A for number 10. And I'm going to cross it off. Now we're going to go to...
Thank you. St. John Jackson
To the eye lounge?
Yes, please.
He's on his way. You're welcome. All right, so for B, now we're going to do B here. I'm going to move down, B. So I'm going to do a number line. This one definitely has the numbers 3 and -2. I'm just looking at the numbers there. So there's 0, here's 3, here's -2. Now I know that x has to be, I'm just looking at that top left-hand corner there, x has to be less than 3. So I'm going to draw that first. Now notice this is an open circle because it didn't have that line underneath. X has to be less than 3. But x has to be greater than -2. Open circle again. Now it doesn't say the word or there, so right there it tells me that I'm not going to use the right part. I'm not going to use the left part. I don't see anything that says or, so it's got to be that overlap there. So again, this one looks almost the same as the one we just did, except for this one has got open circles. So I'm looking for something that looks like B. Which one looks like B? Wait, say it again. Sorry, you just got cut off by the bell. I think you were right. You said it, but none of them. So again, we said we had more choices on the right than we did on the left, so this one is not going to match up. So we're like, okay, that's cool. That's just not going to match up with any. So that one is not there. Let's do C. Now this one is an OR. So let's do C. Something happens at 0. We've got x is less than 0. So we've got here's 0 and all the numbers to the right. And then we've got x is greater than 0. So here's an open circle and all the numbers to the right. But notice I did not include 0 there because 0 was never included. So now I'm looking for something that looks like C. 11 looks like C. Oh, I crossed off the wrong one. C. There we go. Okay, so we're moving on to D here. Bless you. Here's my number line. We've got 0, we've got 3, we've got -2. Now the first part, we've got x is less than or equal to 3. Closed circle. Which direction am I going to go? Left or right? Okay, so we're going to the left. X is less than 3. So all the numbers to the left. Or x is greater than -2. Where's my, there we go. I was having an issue finding my blue there. Now notice in this case, every single number is included because this is an OR thing. So all the red numbers are included and all the blue numbers are included. Now you might look here and go, wait a minute, but -2 was not included. Well, it wasn't included on the blue line, but it was included on the red line. So the truth is, what this is going to look like is every single number is included, because if you notice, 3 is included and -2 is included on the red line. So what this is going to look like is this. It can be true on either line, not and. We're not looking for overlap here. So we've got -2, we've got 0, we've got 3. It means that all of these numbers are going to be included. Do I have a graph that looks like that?
Yeah.
Which one?
9.
Number 9.
Doesn't matter if it has a circle.
So no, because we don't really need the circles in here. We need the circles to show if there is, like with ands, we need them to show where does it stop, where does it start. In this case, it never stops, never starts. It includes all the numbers. So every single number is included. Because really, every single number in the world for D, every number in the world is greater than or equal to -2 or is less than or equal to 3. Every number that is a real number will fall into those categories. All right, so now we get E. Here's 0, here's 3, here's -2 because we keep using those same numbers. X is less than or equal to -2. How do I do that?
Close circle of -2.
Okay,
Going
going to
to the left.
the left. Okay, and X is greater than 3.
Open circle of 3 going to the right.
Okay, notice this is not an and, so I don't need the overlap. There is no overlap. So if it said and, then we'd have no answers. But here, we're looking for something that looks like this. Do we have something that looks like that? Number 12, which would be E. All right, so we go on to F. Zero, 3, and -2. There, it doesn't say or, so I know this one is going to be an and one here. So we've got, let's do this. X is less than 3. How do I do x is less than 3? Open circle, go to the left. And we also want to do x is greater than negative 2. How do I do that? Greater than or equal to, excuse me.
Close circle, left.
So this is x is greater than. So we're looking, x is the bigger number. Right. So the reason that I flip it around in my head is because I need like x is bigger than negative 2. I'm always interested in what is x doing. X is bigger than negative 2. So it's all the numbers to the right. Now notice that we're looking for the and here. So it's the ones where both are true. So they both are here, 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 all the way up to 3. Now they're not both, they're not a filled in circle at 3 because they're not both there. So if I were to redraw this, it would look like this. Here's 3, here's 0, here's negative 2. So it's all the numbers from negative 2 all the way up to 3 with an open circle. Do I have any that look like that? No? Or yes? Sorry, no? I hear yes and no. 8. Okay, so 8 looks like F. Closed circle on the left, open circle on the right. We're getting close. So then we've got G, and G is x is greater than, x is less than negative 2, or x is greater than or equal to 3. So x is greater than or equal to 3. Here is greater than or equal to the right. This one is an or one, so either one, we're not looking for overlap here, or x is less than negative 2. Here's negative 2, open circle, because it doesn't have less than or equal to. Do we have one that looks like this? 7 looks exactly like that. So now let's just see H just for fun. Let's look at H for a minute here, because let's see what H would look like, because forget about if we're done or not. You need to know what each of these graphs look like in case you had to face them. So 0, 3, negative 2. So I know that x is greater than 3. So here's open circle to the right. Or x is less than or equal to negative 2. Do I have one that looks like this? Do I have any graphs that look like that? Yeah, it is 12 as well. So how is it possible that E and H are both the answers? Because if you look at E and H, here's what's interesting about E and H. E has x is greater than 3, so does this one. This has, E has x is less than or equal to negative 2, so does this one. They just reverse the two. So it's important because if I asked you to match the letters there, you would need to match them all. The only one that didn't have a match there was B. So like going through and saying, oh, well, I'm done because they all have a match would not be true because there are 2 answers for 12. Yes, sir?
Would the quiz be like this?
Very much like you could be expected that you would have to graph things, you might have to match things, very much. I think it's easier to work from the right to the left, but you could work backwards too as long as you can interpret this. Yes, ma'am?
If you have a problem like this, if this is an OR problem, but they only overlap here, they don't overlap here.
So or means that if it's an answer on one or an answer on the other. So if I said do either you or, do you like cats?
No.
No. Do you like, what's an animal you like?
Dogs.
Okay, I like dogs too. That's not going to work. Okay, I'm going to pretend for a moment, and this is not true, just so the gods are listening. I love dogs, but I'm going to pretend for a moment I don't love dogs. So if I said, do either of us love dogs, and you said yes, and I said no, then it's everything that, like, it's still true, but only one part there. So she's saying her graph looks like this. Let me just show you what she's got, because this might be a question that comes up. And we've got 0, we've got 2, and she's got an open circle at 0 going to the right. and then she's got an open circle at 2 going to the left. And this is an OR problem. So this is the top one, right? So this was t is greater than 0 or t is less than 2. So the question is, how would I finalize this? Because how do I write this as the final answer? All real numbers. Because if you look at the blue line covers everything from here forever to the left. It covers every single number from just to the left of 2, all the numbers to the left. And the red line covers everything just to the right of 0, all the way to the right. So that's every single number that they covered because this is an OR one. So this final graph would look like this. It would have numbers on it, 0, 2, whatever other numbers are on there, and it would just be red all the way across because every single number would make it true.
Okay. And that's the same one for D? Is that what we did?
D,
Is that all we did?
F, right? F? This,
Oh, yeah,
F was the same style, yep.
okay.
Because all of the numbers were represented there.